Be seated. Proceedings have resumed. The Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I rise to give a very short contribution. And much has been said, but piggybacking off my good friend, the Attorney General, Henry VIII didn't even get to see this wife. But, Mr. Speaker, Dulce et Decorum Est is a poem that we read in school. It was written by Wilfred Owen during World War I when he was fighting in the trenches in France and published in 1920. The title is taken from Ode 3.2 Vela of the Roman poet Horace and means it is a good, or it is a sweet and fitting, followed by pro patria more, which the full sentence dulce et decorum est pro patria more means it is a good thing to die for one's country. Mr. Speaker, as a young teenager, I was quite unsatisfied that the Cayman Islands did not have an army or an air force to join, as I wanted to serve my country in this manner. So I say this to say that getting elected in 2009, Mr. Speaker, gave me that same satisfaction, and I take this responsibility very seriously. The matter of changes to our Constitution is a very serious undertaking, and one that started, in my opinion, mainly after the actions of our mother country in making changes on our behalf without our consult. And if there was nothing more, Mr. Speaker, than this amendment to ensure we are consulted before any changes or legislation is done to our Constitution and avoiding the overreach effect. Mr. Speaker, I am proud of the team led by the Premier with the support of the former opposition leader and now the current opposition leader. The country must know I am proud that they showed such leadership and putting all aside for the good of the country, and I applaud this, Mr. Speaker. I am happy that I am able to play a historic part in our Constitution. Yes, this did not go out for referendum, Mr. Speaker, but when we remember two things in life that will never come back, and that's time and opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And I believe this is the right time and the perfect opportunity. These changes are a long time coming, and I admire the Premier's patience, as it's better to be patient than to get our desire and not be ready for it. Mr. Speaker, as I said, Henry VIII didn't get to see this wife. God bless you.
The member for West Bay North.
Mr. Speaker, I will be very short as well with my contribution. I would like to start by saying a special thank you to the former Leader of the Opposition. It appears that when he came back from the UK talks, he put together a package and gave it to his members. I had no such way of getting anything or knowing anything about this. So when we kicked off, Mr. Speaker, this going, I sat with him and he explained it to me very clearly. And when I got a meeting with the Premier, and the Premier asked to see me, Mr. Speaker, as I said to the Premier, I was very disappointed that this was the way it was coming. And I was disappointed that the public did not know enough about it, that we were not able, did not have the time. But looking over the changes, or the changes we want, there was no doubt in my mind, Mr. Speaker, as well, like everyone else, it was very beneficial to us. And there was two pieces that particularly stood out that made me, I had no choice but to support this. It was today that I learned that 2009, this part about the police board was in last set of talks, and it was taken out. And now it's back in. If maybe history is funny, Mr. Speaker, if it had been left in, one of the greatest disgraces in this country, with the former governor and police commissioner, to take one of our members and to traumatize their family and try to embarrass and try to scandalize, maybe if we had this in place, Mr. Speaker, it would not have happened. Mr. Speaker, the second part that I could not pass up, after just having seen the member from Georgetown Central stand here and said that he was told that even if he got the votes down here, the governor would be told that not to approve it. Mr. Speaker, the fact that that cannot be done and will not be done alone would make me support this document. I want to say to the team that went over, thank you. And I have no choice, and I'm very honored to be a part to support this. Thank you very much. But once again, in closing, I want to say, we must in the future, in my humble opinion, these things must go to the public to let them have their input. Even though, since I've gotten this, the people I've spoken to, just like the member from Northside, people, once you explain to them the importance and how it will empower us and protect us even more, they all have agreed. So thank you very much, and God bless the Cayman Islands.
Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? I'll call on the Honorable Premier to wind up and exercise his right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I say with all earnestness that I have never been prouder to be a Caymanian and never prouder to be a member of this Legislative Assembly than I am right now. Mr. Speaker, we have demonstrated today by the speeches that have been made and by the tacit approval of those who did not speak how much we care about the future of these islands and our people, and how we are prepared, notwithstanding the adversarial nature of politics, to put aside all consideration of partisan politics in the national interest and good. Mr. Speaker, I need I think, say not much more, because I have spoken at length about what the provisions are and what they mean to us. But I am even more encouraged, Mr. Speaker, by a letter I just received from the CEO of Cayman Finance, which I will read. Dear Premier, it's dated today. Cayman Finance has taken note of recent developments with regard to the Cayman Islands' constitutional relationship with Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom. The package of reforms discussed in the Legislative Assembly in November is, in our opinion, progressive in nature and in keeping with a maturing democracy that is also one of the world's most significant international financial centers. Affording our democratically elected local government to have more control over the legislation that governs us is reflective of this. Cayman Finance is pleased that there has been unanimous support from both sides of the Legislative Assembly for these constitutional proposals that are reflective of a mature democratic state. We wish your government nothing but the best as you seek to implement these reforms for the advancement of the people of the Cayman Islands. Yours sincerely, Jude Scott, CEO, Cayman Finance. Mr. Speaker, all members, I think, have been concerned about the lack of opportunity for proper and broader consultation. I and my government share that concern. But until we had in our hands an agreed, by the UK that is, agreed set of proposals, it was difficult or perhaps impossible to do much more than we have done, which is to have spoken at length about them in this House. And on the talk shows, I participated in 2 or 3 talk shows with the member from Northside, discussing what was proposed and what we hope to have achieved. But we didn't actually get the letter until the 10th of last month, 10th of November. And we didn't reach agreement among ourselves here until the 20th of November, while in the middle of Finance Committee and dealing with a range of other issues, including the now ill-fated referendum which was looming on the 9th of December. So all of these things took up our time and made that impossible. But from the government perspective, we agree. We agree with the governor, who has suggested it to me. We agree with the opposition, some of whom have suggested it to me, that we should, early in the new year, hold some public consultation meetings so that these matters can be aired. And in the interim, the government has established a website, which I have written on some piece of paper here and now cannot find. www.explore.gov.ky constitutional reform. So the proposals are, the site went live yesterday and one can access it and look to see what the proposals are. The draft order is there as well. www.explore.gov.ky constitutional reform. We have invited, Mr. Speaker, the public to comment. We are issuing a press release on Monday which will draw attention, or it may have gone out this evening, to that website again to elicit public comment and engagement. Mr. Speaker, we have, I think, done the country proud this day. And I believe that in time this decision, this unanimous, what I expect to be unanimous decision of this House, will be looked upon as one of the critical points in the continued development and maturity of these islands as a constitutional democracy. Mr. Speaker, I don't know how many people, I know members in this House do, but I don't know how many people realize what I see coming. Mr. Speaker, I have argued when battling for these changes with the governor, with Lord Ahmad, with officials in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, to try to get them all to understand that if we want to preserve for a great deal longer the constitutional link between the Cayman Islands and the United Kingdom government, the United Kingdom government has got to treat us with respect, that the generations which will follow me and those of us in here are not going to put up with overbearing, I'm searching for the word, I'm looking, but I better not use that one that came to my head. But an overbearing and overreaching administering power, and that the best way to preserve this constitutional link is to give the territory the opportunity to make its own decisions. All of them will not be right. We will make mistakes like everybody else does. But the determination about what happens here ought to be in the hands of the people who have been elected by Caymanians. And that overriding consideration is what I have hammered home over and over again. The more autonomy you give us, the longer the relationship is likely to last, because we will then, as a people, not feel that somebody else is making decisions without proper knowledge, understanding, or concern about its impact here. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by thanking a fairly long list of people, and I'm bound to get in trouble by leaving some important participant out, but nonetheless, I think I need to. Mr. Speaker, I want first and foremost to thank the former leader of the opposition who agreed to participate in the process on behalf of the opposition at the time. Without his interest and involvement, we would never have gotten off the ground, let alone to this point. I want to thank the members of my government who understood and supported me every step of the way as we sought to address this issue. And the Minister for Financial Services and the Minister for Commerce, who were part of the delegation, as I said, the Leader of the Opposition, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General, whose insight, wisdom, counsel, and encouragement has been invaluable. Sir Jeffrey Jowell, QC, whose wisdom on constitutional matters is something that is revered. Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretary, Samuel Rose, and the Director of the Policy Coordination Unit, Jason Webster, also provided a tremendous amount of assistance, advice, and support, as did the then head of the government office in London, Mr. Eric Bush. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the Governor, who was brand new when we initiated these discussions a year ago, participated in them and has supported and encouraged and prodded BUK government, the FCO, all along the way, and his assistance is greatly appreciated. But Mr. Speaker, Lord Ahmad himself, Lord Tariq Ahmad, has of Wimbledon, who's the Minister of State for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, among other things, is, I believe, the key individual who has allowed this to occur. Without him and his support for the constitutional changes, we would never have gotten this far. And Mr. Speaker, the then Prime Minister herself and Mrs. Theresa May, and the what's his title again? And David Liddington, who's the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, all assisted. And Mr. Ian Henry, who's well known to all of us, former Deputy Legal Advisor to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and Mr. Greg Reisman, and Ben Merrick, who was the Director of the Overseas Territories, all played important roles in helping us to get to this point. And our thanks and gratitude go out to them. And so, Mr. Speaker, without more, I repeat what I said at the start. I've never been prouder to be Caymanian, to be a member of this honorable House, and to be able to have led this charge and to be around to participate in what will be, I believe, an historic vote.
Honorable members, I would say it's a bit late in the agenda for me to give a message from the Speaker that I could give with knowledge of where we've been on this constitutional journey. However, in my political life, I have opposed different matters of constitutional change, but I have also moved motions myself and seconded motions and brought in advisors to get proper constitutional changes to protect Cayman, protect our business, protect our commerce, and give us more say to run our affairs. These amendments do that, and I am indeed happy, to say the least, that we have reached this constitutional milestone today. I am more than happy, and as Speaker I can say that this has been probably the longest meeting that we've had, any one sitting or any one time. And the quality of speeches, the quality of questions that I've heard from both sides and contributions on both sides have been well said. I say no more than that, no more than to say that I am happy to see the unity and to feel the unity in here. And I am more than happy to hear all on my left say they're voting yes. And we can all be proud of where we've been taken along this path. I know where our Premier was. I know where he has been. And I tap him on his shoulder for getting some of these things done. Why? Because I know what I had to go through. And some of these changes here will eliminate much of that. We know where we're at. The UK knows where we're at. And he has helped to bring that to fore. And I want to thank him for that. I agree that there's a time for everything under the sun. And may I add, with a old Jamaican festival song, nowhere better than yard. Question is,
It's a long question.
it is, I want to get it right. Question is, be therefore resolved that this Honorable House does approve the proposed amendments to the Cayman Islands Constitutional Order 2019, the Constitution, as set out in the draft Cayman Islands Constitution Amendment Order 2019 sent to the Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, on the cover of letter dated the 10th November 2019 from Lord Ahmad of Wilmington, Minister of State for the Commonwealth and the United Nations, subject only to delaying the coming into effect of the proposed amendment of Section 44(1) of the Constitution until after the next general elections, and be therefore further resolved that a copy of the resolution of this House and the transcript of the debate on this motion be forwarded to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office upon completion of the debate and the vote thereon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, can we have a division, please?
Clerk, divide.
Honorable Alden McLaughlin.
Aye.
Honorable Moses Kirkconnell. Honorable Juliana Connor-Connolly.
Aye.
Honorable Dwayne Seymour.
Aye.
Honorable Roy McTaggart.
Aye.
Honorable Joseph Hugh.
Aye.
Honorable Tara Rivers.
Aye.
Captain Eugene Ebanks.
Aye.
Ms. Barbara Connolly.
Aye.
Mr. David White.
Aye.
Mr. Austin Harris.
Aye.
Honorable Arden McLean.
Aye.
Mr. Alva Saku.
Aye.
Mr. Kenneth Bryan.
Aye.
Mr. Anthony Eden.
Aye.
Mr. Christopher Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Ezra Miller.
Aye.
Honorable Barney Bush.
Aye.
Results of this historical government motion number 3. 18 ayes. A unanimous vote, as you can get it without the speaker's vote. But if I could vote, I would say aye. The motion has been passed. The Honorable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, it is only for me again to thank all members of this House and the staff of the Legislative Assembly and the many hard-working, long-suffering civil servants who have been part and parcel of this meeting of the House through this past month for all of their hard work, cooperation, and genuine good humor most of the time. Mr. Speaker, with that, I just wish to wish all members of this Honorable House and the broader public a happy holiday season on behalf of the government, and if I can take that liberty, on behalf of the Leader of the Opposition and all members of the Opposition, and to move the adjournment of this Honorable House sine die.
Question is that this Honorable Legislative Assembly do now adjourn sine die. All in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honorable Legislative Assembly is hereby adjourned sine die.